Hi and welcome to the Cult TV Sofa. This is a reaction video of the 4th episode of Season 2 of Babylon 5 called A Distant Star. Last time we saw Garibaldi deliberating over whether he should return to his role as the head of security on the station after being shot in the back by one of his own. Londo was approached due to his newfound power to help overthrow the Centauri Emperor and take control of the Centauri people. A group of people called techno-mages boarded the station with the intention of using it as a meeting place before they all travelled away due to a darkness approaching. Ivanova was promoted to a full commander, and her first task in this new role was to solve the fighting that was occurring between two groups of Drazi people. Londo wanted the techno-mages to endorse him on his path to new power, but the words that they gave were not quite what he expected. When the Drazi problem took a tragic turn for the worse, Ivanova was taken hostage by one of the groups, with Garibaldi coming to the rescue, which boosts his confidence in his abilities and skills and allows him to return to work. So let's see what happens in this episode. I'm going to put any relevant trivia that I find over here, and at the end of the reaction I'll be discussing what happened and my thoughts about it. And I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1.
I want to send a message to Babylon 5. Attention of Captain John Sheridan. And take this down exactly.
It's rather rude, sir.
Rude?
Unless all your friends call you Swamp Rat.
Her leg's still recovering.
The Cortez is coming here for resupply.
Yes, she just sent in the requisition separately. She's asking for a lot. Must have been out a long time.
At least 5 years.
That is big. It's got its own gravity, at least in the centre, because it's rotating.
I believe your friend Stinky has arrived.
I've said in the previous episodes this season that command style. He's a bit more chilled and relaxed than Sheridan. Sinclair. I keep getting their names mixed up. Sheridan is a bit more relaxed than Sinclair was. He would still have laughed at that joke, but I don't know, Ivanova seems even a bit more casual around him. Obviously, you don't always want casual and fun in a command situation like that, but sometimes it's appropriate and it's good for morale, and I think it was in this situation. So it's again good to see the difference in style. So Warren Keffler was there then. I think we've already seen him in the first episode, haven't we? This season. Hasn't really done much. Wow, it is all pretty much the same size as, length as Babylon 5.
Jack, this is Ambassador Delenn of the Minbari Federation. Ambassador, Captain Jack Maynard.
Ambassador?
Captain.
Obviously, that's the first time that we've seen someone else see Delenn for the first time, looking as she now does. I wonder if that's been... I assume he's updated the EarthGov on that. I don't know where I was going to go with that. Don't know, it just seems odd that she's just there like that now. You'd think that there's going to be a lot of people interested in it and wondering, what's going on. And I think I had a thought, and I don't know where I was going with it now, but it just seems odd that she's walking around like that freely, without more scrutiny, especially over the change that's happened. Again, I had a point, but I don't know where I've gone with it.
It's big, beautiful, and crazy making. There's more going on here every minute of every day than anywhere else I've ever served.
Yeah, it would be.
But I eat what I want, when I want, and as much as I want.
That was before you were shot.
Yeah, I do as well. That's why I'm like this.
Putting you on a restricted diet.
Oh, but it's almost time for me to make my favorite meal, bagna cauda. It's kind of an Italian fondue. You're serious about this, aren't you?
Well, I'm not only serious about you following the plan, but this gives me the perfect excuse to call all ranking station personnel for a naturogenic
dear.
factor profile.
Okay, fine. Diet.
No. Food plan.
It's not a diet. It's not a diet. It's healthy eating, just to encourage your body to work properly. My body would need too much encouragement, and I haven't got the will.
This isn't exactly what you trained for. It's not really what you wanted.
Jack, I can make a difference here.
I suppose. I just never figured that
Not very
wind up tied to a desk.
backing him up. Oh, but even in command of a starship, a ship that's out in the rim, still behind a desk. Desk's moving and it's, it's travelling around, but it's still behind the desk. There's still going to be a lot of overlap between the work he does here and on a okay, let's go with an Explorer class ship. No, not very supportive. That's the word I was looking for a minute ago.
Hell of a desk to be tied to.
Yeah. With the Explorer ships, they go out to look for new species and new things, whereas Babylon 5, all that comes to him. So, he is still seeing lots of new things and exploring in some ways.
Sounds like a petty shoplifting wave, Mr. Garibaldi. Surely you can handle it.
Ooh. Looks a bit narked.
But I thought you wanted to know everything that went on in the station.
Everything important, Mr. Garibaldi.
Oh, well, we haven't seen him like that before. Well, the way he was then actually contradicts what I said earlier about his command style. Yeah, that was very odd. He seemed annoyed then.
But things can get kind of weird out on the rim, too.
You're going to see some weird things.
You never know what you're going to find when you look over the edge of what's known and into what's not.
That's why you go out there.
I took my nav officer, Lieutenant Patrick, with me for a look around on one of our scout ships when I saw something. 1,000 kilometers away, black against space. Blotted out the stars behind it. I don't know the exact shape of it, but it was big.
I wonder what that could be.
Did your nav officer see it?
Oh, he says he saw a blink.
It was in a survey ship, though. So you would assume a survey ship would have advanced sensors. It's its entire purpose. And I would have thought, the way he explained it, he was just surveying an area of space and he was out of sight just of the Cortez. So he wasn't talking about a planet, he was just in space. So I would assume that they would be scanning. So you think there'd be something, some kind of scan, some kind of don't know, just something, just to back that up. Obviously, not talking full scans of the ship that he thinks he saw, but just differences in the area, just some kind of trace of some kind. Unless the ships we've seen are completely impervious to any kind of scan and don't give out anything, which I find completely hard to believe. Like he said, it was black against space. The only reason he knew it was there is because it blocked out the stars behind it. Same with something, a ship like that. You might not be able to scan it, but the fact that you can't scan it is often an indication that there's something there, if you know what I mean. You just don't get readings, so I would have thought there'd be some data to back up that there was something there. Not a lot, just a little bit, just to add to it.
Here's a list of foods I want you to avoid. No meat, low fat, lots of vegetables.
It's rabbit food.
But from what I've seen so far, meat is extremely rare anyway. They usually especially import it, and they do seem to have a much more vegetarian lifestyle, because I think that they have a lot of farms on the station. You see them in the background, lots of grassland and things. I think they do grow a lot of their food. So I think that obviously the way they've worded it is to make us think that they eat a lot of meat. He's obviously trying to cut down on food, but actually I think it does they have a much more vegetarian lifestyle anyway, so it shouldn't be too big of a change unless they spend an individual spends a fortune on importing meat and stuff, like maybe Garibaldi does. But yeah, shouldn't be a shock.
And since we're a team, why don't you do the diet part?
Well, who watches the Watcher? Who's ensuring that he's doing it as well?
They worry that you are no longer one of us.
Yeah, and rightly
I'm
so.
more one
To be
of
worried.
us at this moment than I have ever been.
And I think this is part of what I was trying to say earlier, actually. Her position is as ambassador, a Minbari ambassador, representing her people, which is where they're raising the issue now. And can she fully represent her people when no one really completely knows what she is at the moment? She doesn't look like a Minbari, so it's not really the best role for her, really, as far as the everyone else is concerned. The Minbari people, the other species. She's not a proper representation of the Minbari people.
Understanding is not required, only obedience.
To our own kind, yes. But that is the question. Are you any longer our own kind?
Yeah.
We have a right to know.
I think he's justified in that. They're justified to ask the question.
Are you telling me to go on a diet?
Oh, choose your words carefully.
You have deficiencies in calcium, iron, and several other minerals, and it's hampering your recovery. Now, I recommend iron supplements and an increased diet.
Yeah, again, in the future, especially on a space station, they are going to be deficient in certain minerals because they're on a space station. They don't have real sunlight, and there's going to be other things that they're lacking. So I would have thought actually supplements would be a standard part of their diet to make up for that. Again, shouldn't be a shock. And iron, again, because they're not eating meat. So an iron deficiency, again, understandable. So, yeah, it's a bit weird.
I'll see you when you come back this way again. The adventure is out there, Jack. A man has to go meet it.
Well, sometimes it comes to you. Wait for it, Johnny.
Captain Maynard, please report to the Cortez.
Why would they ask over the main tannoy system for him? Surely he'd have a comm link, and his command staff would be able to. They're close enough that they'd be able to communicate that way. You wouldn't ask a captain of a ship to return to his ship over the main tannoy. Again, it's a convenient plot device, but
Ever since the Cortez arrived, you just haven't been yourself. I thought perhaps you'd like to talk about it.
okay. So is that why he was off with Garibaldi earlier? Something was on his mind and he was just snappy. I assume it's what that captain was saying about him now being behind a desk and not being out there on the rim, or is it, which we'll find out in a second, that people are talking about something out there and he's wondering what that is, or both, or something else.
The petty complaints, the endless bickering, the constant negotiations. Jack Maynard said this isn't what I was trained for, and he's right.
Starships run on details. B5 can never run in quite the same way.
Yep, absolutely true.
They have turned me into a bureaucrat, a politician.
Yes.
Hell, I always thought the opposable thumb was overrated.
You're here because the president thought you could handle it. Was he wrong?
I don't know. Maybe he was, and it's just taken this long to sink in.
That's kind of realistic. We're in the 4th episode, so you'll have had the initial, in the first episodes we saw him excited and happy about being there, and then obviously we get a few more episodes in, realization hits him, he is getting hit all this detail, and his his friend turns up, talking about exploring and stuff, which is going to put doubt in his mind as well. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that he'd hit a wall as such, and he'd be doubting whether he's in the right job. Although I would have thought Ivanova now, especially in her new role, should be taking a bit more of the trivia away from him. Although we did see Sinclair deal with lots of little details and stuff, but that really should be passed over to her now. She should be doing that sort of stuff.
What's our ETA on the other side of the... Meaning we've lost the lock-on signal from the jump gate.
Yes, sir. Without it, we can't find our way into hyperspace.
So, hopefully I'm going to get this right. I'm sure you'll tell me if I don't. Trying to think all through. So, you've got two different sectors of space, each with a jump gate. And... don't completely know how it works, but obviously when they need to travel from one to the other, they go through the gate, it opens up, they travel into hyperspace, and then they travel through hyperspace, which allows them to travel at a faster speed than traveling through normal space, and then they exit through the other gate at their destination. And it's obviously hyperspace is a vast area, and there's nothing there to help orientate them. There's no stars or anything for them to work out a course and where they're traveling. So it sounds like each gate has a beacon. It gives off a signal. It must be a very powerful signal to be able to travel through hyperspace. So when they enter one gate into hyperspace, they lock on to the signal for the next gate, and they travel towards that signal. That's how they navigate, or how you navigate through hyperspace. So they have now lost the signal. So yes, they could head in the right direction, but in hyperspace there might be all kinds of forces and things which push them off course or affect the course of a ship in hyperspace. So they're constantly having to reacquire their lock. If they can't get a lock on it, they're going to be travelling off all over the place, and due to the vastness of hyperspace, they could be travelling forever, basically, until they get close enough to another gate where they could lock onto it and travel through it. So that's one of the dangers of travelling through hyperspace. If you lose your lock on any gate, you can get lost in hyperspace. I think that's right, and that's what's happened here, or happening here.
Well, what are we going to do about it?
Okay, so they were each assigned different types of food based on their diet. So Ivanova had to eat fattier foods and to put on weight, which is what Garibaldi would normally eat, whereas Ivanova would normally eat, I think, salads and light food like that. Although again, it's a big portion. All of them are big portions. Garibaldi eats unhealthily, which is what Ivanova was prescribed to eat, and Sheridan kind of eats something in the middle. So all they've done is just basically swap them around, so they've all now got what they want. Ah. Although, what has she got? Is that like a pasta? So yeah, they're kind of just drifting in hyperspace.
We have the parts, but not the time. It'll take 48 hours minimum. By that time, we'll be swept so far, of course, we'll never find the lock-on signal again.
I assume they can't have multiple beacons in hyperspace for the reason I said that they would just be drifting around all over the place, and not practical for them to have engines to keep them in place, which is why you would have one just on each of the gates. And if you lose your navigation, which seems very bad, you lose your signal and that's it, game over. I think they have a backup.
Please respond. Mayday. Mayday.
Shouldn't need to remind you. No ship lost in hyperspace has ever been found again.
I know.
Yeah, so that backs up what I said. It's just so vast. If you lose a signal and you go off track, that's it.
Even if I weren't curious from a scientific point of view, I'm still a doctor and you're my patient.
Yep.
I have to make sure you're not suffering any side effects.
Would you know what the side effects are?
But if we don't know where she is, how do we find her?
I have an idea on that, but it's risky. There's a strong chance that some or all of the rescue ships might not make it back.
God, that's a hell of a thing, but that's the risk that firemen, mountain rescue, life, Coast Guard, oh God, I can't really call them. I'm really not completely with it today, so I apologise. My words are not coming out very well. I'm not as articulate as I normally am, and that's normally not that good anyway. Yeah, so all those guys who, especially the, not the Coast Guard, but the, I can't really call them, Mountain Rescue, okay, let's go with them. I think they are mostly volunteers. So yeah, they volunteer to put themselves at risk to save people, and it is a risk because they could get they could get caught out as well, and and die rescuing somebody. But they know the risk when they volunteer, which these guys do as well.
We are going to borrow a page from the lifeboat service.
Lifeboats, that's the word I was looking for.
The first fighter will stop just inside the gate and lock onto the gate signal. The second fighter will proceed 1,000 kilometers further in and lock onto the signal of the first one.
And so on, so on. It's a good plan. It's kind of like I was saying. There's no beacons for them to lock onto, but they're going to basically make a moving beacon and head it in their direction. And if they can lock on, if the Cortez can lock on to any of those ships, they'll be able to head back in and then follow the chain of beacons back to the gate. So it is a good idea.
Bring the Cortez home.
And yourselves. Because if any of them lose the beacon of any of the other ships, they're lost as well.
All right, carry on. Why don't you take a break?
Why don't you, sir?
Add the sir quickly.
Mayday. This is the Cortez.
Commander, I've got the signal. And lock it on.
Go. I'll hold here.
Thing is, he's the last ship. If they don't find them now, they're stuffed. Oh, so that was obviously one of those the ships we've seen. It's hit not him, the end ship, but the ship in between. So there's now, I would say, too big a gap between him and the other ships to be able to get a proper lock.
Navigation system inoperative.
Oh, and his navigation's inoperative.
What's going on? It keeps firing in the same direction, but there's nothing out there.
Well, it's obviously the direction you need to head in.
He's firing in the direction he wants us to go.
You gotta hope that he's not firing at the direction of the next beacon because there's a ship there. So he's gonna be firing at one of his own ships. I'm assuming he's firing slightly off. So as long as they head in that direction, they're gonna be able to lock on to the beacon of the next ship. But Yeah, it's not good if he is firing directly at the next beacon.
We can come after you. Do you copy?
Nav system not functioning. Engines down. If you come after me, we'll both get lost. Go!
Hang on, just a thought. They've got survey ships, which surely... Well, it looks like any ship can travel through a gate would have navigation systems. Star Furies travel through the gates, jump gates. So any size ship can travel through, and they must have the ability to lock on to the navigation systems at the jump gates. So all they would really have had to do is just launch one of their survey ships, get it to head towards the jump gate, because its navigation systems would be working. It's only the main ships that's not, and follow it. I know obviously they haven't done that for the storyline, but there is a way out of it for them, which fairly easily, to be honest. That's a hell of a thing. Basically, he knows he's stuffed, basically, but he's still doing everything he can to save the Cortez.
Ships coming through.
How many?
3. No, 4.
Well, you could have said 3 and a flipping huge one.
Where are the other 2 fighters?
They didn't make it.
They only sent 1 wing of fighters out. If he'd sent a couple of wings, I know they can't. I can't remember how they've got. I think it's 4. They can't leave the station defenseless. But if he sent 2 wings out, that would have significantly increased the distance, but also the angle. They could have sent out ships in multiple angles to increase the range of and the chance of picking up the Cortez. Well, that seems a bit weird.
Who on the station could pull together the ingredients of Bunyakauta so far from Earth?
Is it really the Doctor's responsibility to be hunting him down like this and spying on him like this? I get that he's prescribed him a healthier food plan. If I say diet, I mean food plan. But is he really able to follow them around like this and make sure they stick to it? Surely he'd just have to monitoring the results in a few weeks to see how their diet's gone. He surely can't be doing this. It's just stalking.
Well, Pop was a great cook, and Bunya was his specialty. So now I make it myself once a year, honoring him. You know, it's...
Well, in that case, why don't you make enough for 2?
I agree. You got to eat things in moderation. I have a very, very unhealthy diet, and I'm aware of that, and I need to change it. And I am actually planning on changing it tomorrow. I think once I've got rid of some of the food I've in my fridge. But I think a treat every now and again. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got something to live for, haven't you? Some sort of treats in life. What's the point?
That's the hard part, isn't it? Sending young people out to die.
Yeah.
But they saved others. At the right moment, they were in the right place.
Thrusters back online. No lock-on signal detected.
Estimate remaining oxygen.
32.5 minutes.
God, that's a horrible way to go. Knowing that he's on his own in a small little ship, oxygen running out, no food, and I might have some rations actually on board, but oxygen, half an hour left. Just having to sit there and just your oxygen just draining away. Ugh, horrible.
Computer. Analyze flight path of unknown object. Correlate to last sighting.
Okay, that backs up what I said earlier. He asked it to correlate the path of the unknown object, which implies it was able to scan the unknown object and know what path it was going on. So although they don't know what it is, they know there's something there. And there's a record of it. The computer's able to scan it. I mean, and that's even just a Star Fury was able to scan it. Yet alone a survey ship, which I would assume would be scanning constantly, because that's what they were doing. They were out there scanning, surveying an area of space. So yeah, there should definitely be data of some kind on those ships. I like the intermittent glow of the engine was thrusters. I think with the damage he had, though, I think I'd be sending out a ship to help him in. His thrusters were, it looked like, not working properly. I'm not sure I'd want him flying into the station like that under his own power. I think I'd be helping him for the sake of the station. Might damage it.
There was just this feeling that something dark and dangerous had gone by. I want to know what it is.
I'm sure we'll find out one of these days.
That's the worrying thing.
Zeta Squadron needs a new commander. I've decided to give it to you.
Oh, I paused because I was going to say something specific, and literally, that's now just that one frame has contradicted what I was about to say. It's interesting to know what hand they wear their communicators on, their comm badge, comm links. So that's Garibaldi, I think. He's got his on his right. The captain had it on his left, and I think Ivanova's was on her left as well, because I didn't see it on her right. I assume it's a bit of a right-handed, left-handed kind of thing, like watches. But I'm a little bit unusual because I'm right-handed, and most right-handed people wear their watch on their left hand or left wrist, but I wear mine on my right. I can't put it on my left. I just really can't do it up. I don't know why. Just always been the way. So yeah, I'd be interested. I might watch out in the future to see if we can tell what hand they are. If Garibaldi is left-handed, if he's wearing it on his right, or whether it's just random. They just put it on wherever. There might not be a pattern, but it's something I'm going to try and watch out for. Especially when he's like shooting, for instance, you should be able to tell which hand he is from the way he holds the gun.
You are gonna love this.
I can feel my arteries hardening just being in the same room with it.
So, yeah, Doc's got on his left, which indicates right-handed.
That is very good.
Bad things normally are. It was a good episode. It's nice to see a bit more of hyperspace and about that. So we saw the those ships, or one of those ships at least. Obviously, it wasn't on the standard beacons, so they seem to have a way of navigating through hyperspace. Oh, just had a thought. What about ships that have their own jump engine? Can they... I don't know if the Explorer class must do. Oh, maybe not, because they said they were building more gates out on the rim, so they might explore out there. So maybe it doesn't have its own jump engines, which would be weird. You'd think a ship that large would, especially an Explorer class, to be able to explore further away, you'd think it'd be able to jump in and out on its own. But if they got lost in hyperspace, if it had its own jump engine, I don't know quite know how it works. Could you just open a jump or jump back into normal space wherever they are? I don't know where they would appear. And maybe that's the risky thing. You don't know where you're going to appear if you just do a random jump like that. And plus, once they're in normal space, if their engines are if the thrusters and things, that normal engines are damaged, wherever they jump to, they could be stuck in that system, because obviously it take a long time to travel in normal space. That's why they use hyperspace. But yeah, I wonder how that would work. Sorry, there's lots of questions about hyperspace and how it all works, the ins and outs of it all. So we saw Sheridan and Delenn getting chatty, which was good. We saw other Minbari querying the lens change, which is right. It would happen. Rightly so. I mean, trying to think of something that relates to it, but there isn't anything. It'd be like if I don't know. I can't think of anything that relates to it, but it completely makes sense that her change is so significant that others of her species would be querying, especially as she's an ambassador for her people, and she's on the Grey Council. She's meant to be she's the pinnacle of representing her people, and now she doesn't look anything like her people. And are there more changes underneath, not just looks? So yeah, rightly so. What I said about Keffer, I can't remember if it's Kef or Kefler. I think it's Keffer. Not doing much. He had a bigger role in this episode. And I thought he already was in charge of a wing, but now he is. So I assume we'll see more of him in the future. So yeah, it's an alright episode. Let me know what you thought about this one in the comments below, and I shall see you for the next one. Be seeing you.